In this video, I'll walk you through the workouts you may perform to develop enormous wrist and forearms. There are a ton of exercises that aim to build those forearms of yours, but only a few are centered on growing the wrist. The wrist and forearms muscles are both regarded as tiny, but they are very powerful. They are similar to the last minute but crucial things that need to be taken care of to build your upper body muscles fully. I'm going to provide you with my top 8 picks for forearms plus wrist exercises. But first, though, as with larger forearms and the musculature that builds up your forearms, can you acquire thicker wrist? I'll be responding to those shortly. Apart from the exercises themselves, stay tuned to the very end because I'll reveal to you my trick for gaining enormous forearms and wrists. Factors that affect wrist size. Number 1. Genetics. Your bone dimensions are mostly determined by your genetic makeup. For example, you likely acquired your huge wrist from one or both of your parents. After all, genes usually dictate one's inherent body shape. Number 2. Nutrition. Although it doesn't hold as much importance as genetics, your regular diet is another factor that contributes to your wrist size. You need to pay attention to your eating habits as a result. Increase your intake of calcium and vitamin D, for example, as these two aid in bone formation. To support muscular growth and strength, you also need to consume an adequate amount of protein. The takeaway about getting bigger wrists. What is the decision then? Is it possible to obtain thicker wrists? The shorter answer is not really. Gaining larger wrists without the aid of diet and heredity is almost impossible. The outcomes would be little to non-existent and would need time and effort. The primary reason is that there is not much to go on there since the wrist has very little muscle on it besides the bones, tendons and skin. Either your forearm and hand structure would need to change or you would need to be born with thicker bones to obtain exceptionally large wrist, and neither of them is an option. So what can you do? It's simple. Just concentrate on bulking up those forearms muscles. Your forearms have a lot more space for muscle growth than your wrists do. You'll see some minor development on your wrist as a result of strengthening your forearm. When properly trained, your forearms can get rather large, increasing the ratio between your forearms and your wrist. However, there is a benefit for small-boned men. The more pronounced your forearms are, the smaller your initial body frame is, ultimately making you appear larger and more rounded. The muscles you add won't appear as impressive if you already have very massive bones. Building strength and thickness in your forearms is a matter of finding the right exercises. But before that, it pays to know the anatomy of the forearm. Your forearms are composed of 3 muscles, and these are wrist flexors, wrist extensors, and brachioradialis. Quickly, press the like button and let's resume our conversation. Wrist flexors. On the rear side of the forearm are the wrist flexors. You must practice movements that alternate between slow contractions and repetitions to stimulate this group of muscles. Wrist extensors. The inner side of the forearm is covered by the wrist extensors. Despite being a vast muscle group, the extensors can dramatically alter the overall form of your forearm. Lastly, the primary forearm muscle that receives the majority of the muscular activity is the brachioradialis. The brachioradialis is the main component of the forearm in terms of size. When you lift heavy objects and make quick motions with your arm, this huge forearm muscle becomes activated. It's interesting to note that the brachioradialis is not only the largest but also the most superficial muscle in the forearm. Training them will therefore have the biggest impact on how your forearms looks. Now that we have the basics covered, let's get right into the forearm exercises. Perform them or at least 4 out of the 8 exercises twice a week and aim for 2 to 3 sets of failures for each exercise. The best exercise for massive forearms and wrist. Number 1. Wrist extensions. Wrist extensions, as the name implies, strengthens your wrist extensors. Your extensors may not get very large, but they can get very large, giving the impression that your forearms are thicker and more muscular. Start by using a dumbbell and chanting while seated on a chair or a bench. To ensure that your forearms land on your thighs, bend forward from the hips rather than sag forward. With your palms facing downward, raise your hands and extend them forward until your wrists are barely over your knees. Now extend your wrist while bending them backward and lifting the weights, maintaining your forearms firmly planted on your knees. This has to be a very minor motion. Repeat after lowering the dumbbells to their initial position. For the next exercise, think bicep curls, but with your wrist. Yes, I'm talking about number 2, wrist curls. Use a light weight initially, as wrist curls are a more challenging workout than most of you might anticipate. Position your forearms on your thighs while sitting on a chair or a bench to begin. Hold out your hands, palms up, then extend your hands forward until your wrists are slightly in front of your legs. Allow the dumbbells to gently fall between your fingers and out of your palms, but not completely out of your hands. As you flex your wrist and bring your weights back into your hands, raise your knuckles as close to the sky as you can safely achieve. That's one repetition. This exercise is for the grip crusher, not the preceding two that call for the use of weights. You will need a hand gripper, also called a wrist squeezer. Number 3, grip crusher. There are many types of grip exercises, but using hand grippers is my favorite. Plus, it's straightforward and amazing at isolating my grip and forearms. To do it, wrap your hand around a gripper and squeeze until the two handles touch. When doing it as a part of a workout, warm up with easier resistances first. Then do 2 to 3 sets with a gripper that you can completely close 5 to 10 times. Number 4, hammer curls. You'll enjoy hammer curls as well if standard bicep curls are your go-to workout, because it employs a neutral grip. Part of the labor is transferred to the forearm. To perform it, stand with your palms facing each other and grip a pair of dumbbells at arm's length by your sides. Curl the weights as close to your shoulders as you can, keeping your upper arm locked in place and your elbows tucked in. You should only move your hands and forearms with your palms pointing inward. After pausing to sense the burn, gradually return the weights to their initial position. The inverted row is a slightly more difficult workout than the others, but it's still a fantastic way to build muscles in your forearms. Number 5, reverse curl. The reverse curl is best done with an easy bar, but if you don't have one, you can use dumbbells instead. Reverse curls gives your brachioradialis the majority of your attention. Start by standing with your arms by your sides, palms facing back, and dumbbells in each hand. Bend your arms at the elbows and raise the weights to a height that is approximately chest height, all the while keeping your elbows close to your sides. Also, during the exercise, maintain the same palm orientation. To finish the repetition, gradually reduce the weights. Your forearms are just one of the many muscular groups that require exercise. By the way, for starters, your glutes are equally crucial. More on that coming up in a bit. Number 6, farmer's carry. One of the most important exercises for building a strong forearm is the farmer's carry. It also strengthens your shoulder stability and builds a stronger core. To do it, stand straight, take a dumbbell or kettlebell in each hand and begin walking. Keep your shoulders pulled back, your chest upright and your abdomen firm throughout the entire exercise. Number 7, inverted row. The inverted row targets the shoulders and upper back muscles while strengthening the forearms in particular. The exercise becomes more difficult the more horizontal your body is. Lie on the floor beneath a bar that has been placed at waist height in a Smith machine or power rack to begin. With an overhand grip that is marginally broader than shoulder width apart, hold the bar. After that, hang while keeping your torso straight from head to heels and your arms fully extended. Maintain a straight posture with your hands, elbows, your shoulders and your heels hip width apart. Squeeze your shoulders blades together while pulling your chest to the bar while maintaining your core engaged. After pausing to experience the heat, carefully reposition yourself. Do you find inverted rows or maybe standard pull-ups challenging? If so, then wait until you try towel pull-ups. Number 8, towel pull-ups. The towel variation is a stronger exercise that works your forearms more than the standard pull-up. You have to compress and crush the towels even more to keep yourself upright. Don't worry, getting only 1 to 2 reps on your first try is completely acceptable. To begin, wrap 2 towels around a pull-up bar, grasp a towel in each hand. As you rise, keep your shoulders down and your chest high while performing pull-ups. If this is too hard, start with just one hand grabbing a towel and the other hand grabbing the bar. Then alternate sides. Did you make it to this point of the video? Then as promised, here's my secret. 3 to be exact, to having massive forearms aside from those exercises I have mentioned. The key to getting bigger forearms and wrists. Number 1. Increase training volume. Your training volume measures how much work you have done during a workout program. Figure out how much weight you have lifted overall if you are using both barbells and dumbbells. The key here is to use heavy weights and perform only a few reps. Then do your reps to a point of muscle fatigue to stimulate hypertrophy. Be patient and make incremental increase to the volume and intensity of your training. Number 2. Eat more protein. One bigger defined muscle eats lot of protein-rich foods. I'll tell you what, protein makes up the majority of the muscular mass that gym rats possess. Consequently, you need to regularly consume a high-protein diet. Protein, after all, contains the crucial amino acids for the development and repair of muscles. Compared to the average fitness enthusiast, you require extra protein because you are attempting to gain muscles. To bulk up, consume at least 2 grams of protein per kilo of your body weight. Number 3. Commitment is key. Whether you are carrying supermarket bags or opening bottles, your forearms come in handy for tasks requiring grip and pull. When your forearms are fully grown, they will be very practical in addition to having a great appearance. As a result, you must dedicate yourself to a life of physical fitness and ensure that your forearms are exercised. Love peanut butter? You won't believe these nutty facts. Check out the left side video. Craving healthy desserts? Whip up this delicious 5-minute low-calorie oatmeal banana recipe. Check out the right side video.